Hello there. Welcome in Wednesday edition of the show. Glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've decided, you know what? I'm going to download the new and improved Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health. Mental health and well-being for all. A veritable cornucopia of sports topics coming your way over the course of the next 3 hours. I don't know what that was. My goodness. Got a couple of guests. Jessica Mendoza from KKTV 11 will be my guest next hour. And then that will be at 4:20. And then at 5:20, Laura Busby, the head coach of the Air Force women's soccer team, who's getting ready to play Army, will join me. But it's you and me the rest of the time. 719-247-1313. That's the text and the phone line. Same number for your convenience. Let's get started, shall we? I don't think that it is a productive use of time during a rivalry week to be leading off a press conference by refuting reports that most any sane, anybody with a discerning eye or ear could pick out how bogus some of the reports are around this CU football team. So to me, it doesn't feel wildly productive to be spending a lot of time on it, especially given how much higher the stakes are getting for this Colorado football program. But Dion did want to address this latest report that he told the band they can't play the fight song and they have to play Shador's song when he scores a touchdown.
Whoever reported that I told the band not to play the fight song, that's idiotic. Y'all know that. Like, when you saw that, you know that was a lie. We got to start having some kind of accountability to this. I understand that this is a free and an open world, that everybody is not a journalist, everybody's not an analyst, everybody's really hadn't put in a lot of work to do what you all do. I'm thankful for many of y'all that take your job and your craft serious, and consequently, you get facts before you run with false narratives. But please know that that stuff affects people. Me, you've been attacking me my whole life, so I'm good. But other people that's involved, band members, Buffs faithful, and alumni and all that, sometimes they don't know what to believe. And oftentimes in life, we believe the first thing we hear, in which we shouldn't. I just would challenge you to be more responsible with your reporting.
And much of that, I agree. There should be more accountability, and at the bigger sports gets and the bigger the world gets in terms of all these outlets and all these social media accounts and things like that, people don't have the same journalistic standards as they should. And so much of what Deion Sanders is saying there, I wholeheartedly agree with. Now, I would say, like, let's be fair to the situation here and say that there are plenty of people who really don't do their due diligence and don't really look at things with a critical eye when it is positive, right? The fanboys, the sycophants, they exist as much as those people who just look to further any narrative that is untrue. So let's be fair in that regard. But I agree with what Deion Sanders is saying. But he starts off exactly with what I'm saying. Most rational people can see a report like Deion Sanders tells the band they can't play the fight song and going, that's probably not true. That's probably not true, right? Didn't you feel that way when you saw it? You didn't believe that. So why are you spending time with this? Why do you feel like this? And I get it has an impact, but you got to explain to me the effect it has on band members. Like how are they being, because what? They're being asked, do you get to play the fight song after they score a touchdown? Like it's too far. And he should just be able to look at some of this stuff and let it go. But he clearly can't. But overall, it was a reasonable ask, right? A reasonable plea. Like, please consider the source. And if you are putting stuff out as a report, maybe do some due diligence. It's going to fall on a lot of deaf ears, but I agree with what Deion Sanders is saying. I don't quite agree with the very next thing that he said, though.
You got to understand, I have a huge platform. I could really get personal if I wanted to, but I choose not to do that because that's not right. Some things in life is just not right. And I don't want to go there and I won't go there. But think about it. Just my family alone, the platform is enormous. If we really wanted to go there, we could go there. But we would never do that. We weren't raised like that. We weren't brought up like that. We were brought up to love that neighbor as much as we can.
I don't like that. I don't like that part of it because he's trying to say they're taking the high road, but he's actually not. By saying I can basically destroy you, but I'm not going to, like, that's not that's not taking the high road, and it shouldn't be complimented. Like, you're still threatening people. Right? At any point, I could do this. I'm not going to. At any point, I could ruin you. But I'm not going to. I could, but I'm not going to. Doesn't have to do that. If you if you know the power that you have, you don't need to flaunt it. You don't need to threaten people with it, brandish it. Right? Yes, we know that they have a massive platform. And it would not be great for some of these smaller outlets that are perpetuating nonsense to go up against Deion Sanders because they would be destroyed. I get it. I understand it. But it doesn't need to be said. And by the way, you kind of already did that. It wasn't your platform, but it was your power. It was your celebrity. Just happened a couple weeks ago. There was a specific media member. We all remember this. So you have actually done it to a degree. Because he keeps saying all this is personal. It's personal. It's personal. What's personal about the fight song thing? Like, is that a personal attack? Is it really? It's a false report, but is it a personal attack? And that's going back to the Sean Keeler stuff. How much of this is actually a personal attack? And how much of it are you just taking personally? Then Deion Sanders spent more time going after another false narrative that some people picked up and ran with when it comes to Shedeur Sanders leaving the field with 2 minutes to go in the Nebraska game.
And the doctors don't want to take the guys out into the locker room while the play is going. So it's professional that you wait to a TV timeout to take the guys in the locker room to get them checked out. And some of you guys failed to mention that Chidozie was 10 steps in front of Shedeur when they were going in. Chidozie was 10 steps in front of Shedeur when they were going in to get checked out by the doctors.
Another piece of Saturday that I didn't get into. The guy, he was hurt. So does he have to stay out there? I assume that he was going to get checked out. There were actually people who cover the Buffs that were saying he was leaving because they stormed the field. And it's like, well, wait a minute. With 2 minutes to go, you're bailing? Like, no. Most reasonable people did not take that as Shedeur quitting on his team. This, on the other hand.
How many times did Riley get touched? There was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, you know? But it's just like you got to understand, like, what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
Notice that particular quote is not being contested. The rookie mistake one is when he says a rookie mistake, again, he was talking about himself. Most reasonable people understood that he was talking about himself. But because somebody tried to frame it on social media that he was calling out the receiver, that was an easy win for Colorado, for Shedeur, to be like, no, I was talking about myself, because he was. But see, they're going after all these things that they can't. The bigger issue is, what are you going to do to run the football? What are you going to do to beat CSU? I understand it's got to be annoying to deal with this all the time. But it kind of plays into those of us who are worried about what really matters with the Colorado football program, and that's wins and losses. All of this stuff, acknowledging it, battling after it, threatening people, it detracts from the most important thing. But it's the more fixable thing. That's what Deion Sanders was going at. He was trying to fix what he can fix. Fixing the running game. Fixing clock mismanagement at the end of halves. That's a little bit tougher. There was too much time devoted to it, and most of it was unprompted. Right? It's one thing if you get asked a direct question and you respond to it. And some of the CSU stuff he was asked about, and we'll get into that later. But he brought up some of this stuff unprompted to either right the wrongs that he actually could fix, or by, bringing up how much of a victim he and his football program are. He was asked about maybe changing things up on the O-line, and then he goes off on a tangent.
You may see us shake something up a little bit. Phil Lodeholt is a wonderful offensive line coach. Pat does a tremendous job in calling plays, as he did the first game. So you just can't take a snapshot of one game and not understand the first game. Well, we have over 500 yards of offense. I ain't hear all these questions. But I understand it comes with the territory. So you got to ask him. But game to game, it's going to be something else. Like, we go out there and run for a couple hundred yards. You're going to say, well, why didn't you throw on 3rd and 2? You right in your throwing third and 2. You had a heavy box. You got to let Shador take those one-on-ones. So it's going to always be questioned, but we deserve it. When you lose, you're going to be ridiculed. You're going to be prosecuted and persecuted, and I'm good. I've been on the cross for a long time, and I'm still hanging.
Why? Why? Why does he have to take it in that direction? You don't think that is fuel for the Clay Travises and the Jason Whitlocks and these people who are making it their identity to go after you? You don't think that talking about being crucified is going to give them some ammunition? Like, why do you? That's why I say about the Sanderses. Yes, some of it is unfair. Some of it is just people taking shots, but some of it is brought on themselves. What about Shador throwing his team under the bus? Deion Sanders, unprompted, saying that he's getting crucified. Threatening people indirectly. Well, he's not going to. Like, some of it they bring it on themselves. But the bigger part of this is they absolutely need to win this football game on Saturday. You think that this week has been a bad week for CU football? What if CSU beats them? It will be the apocalypse. I wanted to hear more about Deion Sanders' plan, not just to beat CSU, but to win more football games, to look better than they did against Nebraska. But I suspect that that's the more difficult aspect of this, and he wants to take care of the easy stuff first. So, okay, cool. We're all on the same page now. Shador was not bailing on his team. He was being checked out by the doctor. The band is allowed to play the fight song after Shador Sanders scores a touchdown. Cool. Glad we could all straighten that up. 719-247-1313. Just getting going with this. Wednesday edition of Drive Time Sports. Coming up next, Sean Payton. Leading up to the Pittsburgh Steelers game, obviously the dynamic has changed a little bit. But he was still asked about Russell Wilson. You'll hear from Sean Payton next on Extra Sports 1300. place to go. Broncos and Steelers on Sunday. What to do first? What to handle first? Let's talk about the big thing. Quarterback change. Now it looks like Justin Fields is going to be starting and not Russell Wilson. So what does Sean Payton look at to ensure that they're as studied up as they need to be to corral Justin Fields?
You study closely the game that just played, obviously, preseason. You study the Atlanta cut-ups, and then you understand the skill set that he has relative to, you're covering, you might look at the quarterback run package in Chicago where they went up and played really well against New England after a tough loss on a Thursday night, and he played exceptionally well. A lot of QB run, design runs. So, you're kind of taking all of that into your cut-up consideration.
Justin Fields' legs would be the primary area of concern. Just listening to Sean Payton say that. And look, I talked yesterday about why this was an easy decision for Mike Tomlin to go with Justin Fields, because he gives you the ability to move. I mean, we can argue who's better about evading rushers and avoiding sacks, Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. There is no comparison when Justin Fields is healthy and Russell Wilson has one bum wheel. And you look at what Justin Fields did on Sunday, really, you look at what both of these quarterbacks did on Sunday, and you wonder if you need to worry at all about the middle of the field. Like 7 yards or more down the field. Because neither quarterback... Well, Justin Fields just flat out wasn't asked to throw the ball down the middle of the field. Bo Nix was bad at it. The only success that either one of those quarterbacks really had this past Sunday was either passes very close to the line of scrimmage or passes on the sideline. Right? Anything downfield, especially in the middle of the field, was not good for Bo Nix and was non-existent for Justin Fields. Really, given what both of them showed on Sunday, your primary concerns, if you're the Broncos or the Steelers, are kind of the same. What was the best thing about Bo Nix on Sunday? His legs. So the idea is, hey, Sean Payton's going to roll out Bo Nix a lot, going to try and cut down the amount of reads he has to make things simple. And that's all well and good. Don't let him escape. And for the Broncos, it's paramount. If Justin Fields can run the football, then they're going to have a very long day. So even though they're very different quarterbacks, the concerns, the things you're not as concerned about are kind of the same. The legs of Bo Nix, the legs of Justin Fields are the most concerning aspect of their respective games at this point. And they want to throw the ball to the sideline. Or that the only part of the field they will be effective throwing the ball to down the field is to the sideline. Really not that different, even though you would look at these two quarterbacks and say they are very different. Of course, Justin Fields starting means that Russell Wilson will not, and I think that is actually a good thing for Pittsburgh. I think it is. You don't have that distraction. You can hide Russell Wilson. He doesn't have to speak to the media all this week. Broncos fans can't hone in on him. They'll probably just boo Justin Fields just to, when he gets onto the field, just to, give a little like, this was supposed to be for you, Russ, and then away they go. But I think it's actually a good thing for the Steelers to not have to deal with this circus. And it's no longer about a revenge game. It's about getting to 2-0. I know it's better for the Steelers. Is it better for the Broncos? I'm kind of on the fence about it. I would think that there were very highly motivated people, Sean Payton maybe chief among them, for Sunday. Maybe really for both teams it's better. Because now it doesn't have the meaning that it did. The Jets game last year, you had no choice, right? Nathaniel Hackett was coaching. That's who Sean Payton threw under the bus. It was going to happen. But with no Russell Wilson, then it's what Sean Payton said it was today. It's Broncos versus Steelers.
No, I mean, we're focused on, look, we're not playing tennis or golf. I mean, we're playing a team game and we're focused on the Steelers, and they're a good football team.
And he was going to say that whether Russell Wilson played or not. Right? He already had that one in his back pocket. He was ready for it. And because the bigger story right now is the fact that Russell Wilson won't play, he still faces questions about Russell Wilson. That was, do you say anything given he was a captain? I get whatever media member that was trying to do. Because it's a bummer. I led the show off yesterday with it. It's a bummer for anybody that's covering this football game. It's not as fun. The storylines aren't there. So kudos to them for trying to get Russell Wilson into the conversation, but it's even easier for Sean Payton to downplay that, given that Russell Wilson's... I don't even know what this would be. It's not 10. What would even the comparison be? If Russell Wilson was playing, then he could use the tennis line. Russell Wilson's not playing. It's like we're not playing tennis and then playing tennis against the guy who's replacing the other. I don't know. I think Sean Payton did want to go up against Russell Wilson because that's who he is, right? But maybe for the Broncos as a whole, it's better because they could just focus on what matters the most, and that is winning. Whether Russell Wilson plays or not, the Broncos need this game. They need this game. If they start off 0-2, you think the discourse on social media was bad after they lost to Seattle. Oh my. And it doesn't even matter that it's Pittsburgh. The significance of who they're playing is really put to the back burner. It really doesn't matter. It could be the Steelers. It could be the Chiefs. It could be, Calhoun Junior High. They need to win this game. They can't go to 0-2. Sean Payton, the one thing that he allowed himself to talk about when it came to expectations was the beginning quarter pole of the season, and they're going to be halfway through that quarter pole at 0-2. That cannot happen. And with Russell Wilson not playing, it allows the Broncos to keep the main thing, which is they got to win, and Bo Nix has got to look better. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on that. You'll hear from Bo Nix coming up at the top of the hour. Maybe we'll stick with Sean Payton coming up next because a lot of people are asking the question, where's Marvin Mims? And how does Bo Nix look better this week against Pittsburgh? So more Sean Payton next. Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Colorado Springs with its winter tour, The Lost Christmas Eve, for 2 spectacular shows on Sunday, November 17th at the Broadmoor World Arena. Tomorrow, there will be a very special pre-sale that I want to alert you to. You can get tickets for $49.99 through that very special pre-sale. Again, that is tomorrow. Act early, because you know how popular that multi-platinum progressive rock group Trans-Siberian Orchestra is. Very popular in these parts. So definitely earlier the better tomorrow. Take advantage of the $49.99 pre-sale. That's only a certain allotment of tickets. AXS.com is the best place to go for those. Speaking of tickets, congrats to Matt, who won the 4-pack of tickets to see the Switchbacks take on Charleston Battery on Saturday. While we were with Sean Payton here, I want to stick to it, because outside of Bo Nix and his progression, now that the Russell Wilson stuff has kind of been put to the side, even more so now, the question is, where's Marvin Mims? We were promised Marvin Mims. Here's Sean Payton.
It's part of the challenges when we have multiple receiver groups. Obviously, we anticipate him getting more than just 12. And, a lot of it depends on how much of the game we're playing in nickel or on offense, the 3 receiver sets or base sets. So that can vary. But I think you'll see his pitch count week to week, depending on the team we're playing, go up.
I could have fooled you, but I'm not going to, by saying that's from last season. That was a clip from Sean Payton last year talking about Marvin Mims, and you wouldn't know the difference. You would believe me. But that is not a clip from last year. That is a clip from earlier this afternoon. This is what Sean Payton said every time he was asked about Marvin Mims. Well, it's tough. We got depth there. The pitch count will go up. He's part of our plans. The fact of the matter is, Marvin Mims is not one of the 3 best wide receivers on the Denver Broncos right now in Sean Payton's eyes. Can't be. Lil Jordan Humphrey right now is a better option than Marvin Mims in the eyes of Sean Payton. I don't know what other evidence we need to be able to support that take. He's not hiding this guy for the exact right opportunity. Okay, this team just lost. Sunday was the great opportunity to unleash Marvin Mims. How many opportunities passed them by last year? The fact of the matter is, I don't know what it is. Is it his hands? Is it doesn't have the separation that we all think he does? Did he give Sean Payton a crooked eye in the hallways? We don't know why, but Sean Payton clearly does not want to put this guy on the football field. Okay, because you can't have it both ways. Okay, Sean Payton can't be an offensive genius and then not be able to figure out a way to get Marvin Mims on the field. Okay, so either he's not what he's cracked up to be as an offensive mind, or he doesn't want to put Marvin Mims out there. He feels like there are plenty of other better options. Which one? I'll go with the latter. I'm not going to insult Sean Payton and think that he's not smart enough to figure out how to get Marvin Mims on the field. And I know you're listening to him and it's like, oh, that's what he's saying. It's personnel group. No, it's not. If Sean Payton wanted Marvin Mims on the field, he would be on the field. He would draw up plays for him. It is a little bit of a head scratcher why Marvin Mims is not one of the 3 or 4 best wide receivers on the Denver Broncos, but in Sean Payton's eyes, clearly he's not. And this is now 18 games. 18 games of this. Him acting like he just It's like my high school coaches explaining to my parents why Ryan didn't get in the game. Well, see the score and No. He stinks. That's why he's not out on the field. It's the same thing with Marvin Mims. He doesn't stink, but he's not better than Devon Bailey, Cortland Sutton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Josh Reynolds. He's not. And Sean Payton's never going to admit it. But we got to cut through this 12. Well, we're running 11 person at 12. If Marvin Mims was good enough, he'd be out there. If he was worthy of more than 12 snaps, he would have more than 12 snaps. Sean Payton has been doing this for a while. If he likes a guy enough, he'll be out there. Quarrel with the decision, but please don't buy this that it's personnel related and we're just going to, because he was talking like this all last year. I think asking Marvin Mims is more productive at this point, but we'll see if he's available. How about Bo Nix and what he can do better? I thought this was interesting. Sean Payton was asked, Seattle did some things to confuse Bo Nix, to make Bo Nix struggle. Do you think that Pittsburgh will copy a lot of that? Interesting answer from Sean Payton.
I don't know that they did a lot of things. Meaning, I know you just said that. Look, certainly the experience each week, you're going to have growth from a young player.
How do you read that? How do you take that? Sean Payton does not believe that the Seattle Seahawks confused Bo Nix. Right? This notion that they did something, they disguised something. A lot of people have been pushing that idea. Right? Oh, Bo Nix it wasn't that Bo Nix was bad. They dropped this and they rolled this and, they're trying to act like Seattle that Mike McDonald was in his bag defensively, and there's Sean Payton's like, no. Bo Nix was a rookie playing in his first game. It is okay while still believing that he will be better to just say he wasn't good. It's okay. It's okay to say that. Threw the ball way too many times. 42 times. He should not have thrown the ball 42 times. And that's on Sean Payton. But it's okay. You could still support Bo Nix. You could still defend Bo Nix without pretending that, Mike McDonald schemed up the defensive game plan of a generation to beat Bo Nix. Like, he's a rookie in his first game. He kind of sucked. It's okay. He'll get better. That's what Sean Payton's saying. They didn't throw anything too exotic at him. He's just a young quarterback. It's okay. I see this divide forming that either Bo Nix is a bust right now or nothing was his fault on Sunday. Have you noticed that? Nothing is Bo Nix's fault or he's a bust. It's wild. It's not totally unexpected, but it is wild. Yeah, he did a lot wrong. He did a lot wrong. Seattle didn't disguise things. Bo Nix didn't see them, and it's a difference. It's okay. Game 2. It's room to improve. That's what Sean Payton's saying. That, and perhaps if that were the case, that they did things, that would mean that Sean Payton was outcoached. Maybe he doesn't want to admit that. I just chalk it up to Bo Nix is a rookie playing in his first game. That matters. Yeah, it wasn't great. He screwed up multiple times. The throw to Cortland Sutton was awful. It was an awful throw. You heard Adam Archuleta on the CBS broadcast go, "Oh no," on the last pick. Like, they were just bad throws from a rookie in his first game. It's cool. It's going to happen more. It's going to happen this week to him. Just hope that some of the other things for the Denver Broncos work to a degree where they don't need to rely on Bo Nix as much as they did on Sunday. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on the upcoming game between the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers. A game of great importance to the Broncos, just not for the Russell Wilson reason anymore. Also this weekend, a game of great importance between Colorado and Colorado State. How personal is this for Deion Sanders, given what members of the Norvell family felt compelled to say over the offseason? That's next here on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome in Drive Time Sports on this Wednesday. If you want to watch the show on a daily basis, know that that option is available to you. As long as you follow us on a social media platform, all of them would be awesome. But Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, the handle at XTRA Sports 1300. Jessica Mendoza of KKTV 11 Sports will join me coming up in 18 minutes. 4:20 coming up here shortly. But in the meantime, one of the things that I want to talk to Jessica about is Saturday's football game between the University of Colorado and Colorado State University, commonly referred to as the Rocky Mountain Showdown. And for the second straight week, it seems that Deion Sanders is taking a different tact when it comes to the rhetoric leading up to a rivalry game. Last week, it was not personal, and it was a love fest between Deion Sanders and Matt Rule. That was not really the case last year. And this time, when it comes to CSU, it does seem like high roads are being taken, or at least they're telling you they're taking the high road. If you recall, Kim Norvell, the wife of Jay Norvell, the head coach of the Rams, said that Shedeur Sanders was acting like a bee after the game when those two teams played. This was after the Coach Prime docuseries came out. She was reacting to it and said that about Shedeur, which is not nice. Here's Deion Sanders talking about Jay Norvell's wife.
I had the honor and the pleasure at the Big 12 meetings to meet his wife. She's delightful.
Did she apologize?
Excuse me?
Did she apologize?
I'm not looking for an apology. I just met her. She was delightful.
So there's Deion taking the high road. And look, I have a lot of critiques when it comes to Deion Sanders. I think that I think Jay Norvell was the one that was being antagonistic last year. He tried to score some brownie points with a very pro-Ram crowd by talking about the sunglass or hat thing that was kind of ridiculous. I don't begrudge the guy, right? You're in a business where you're having to perpetually throw red meat to your base. Like, it's being a college football coach, especially these days, is like being a politician. You just have to tell people what they want to hear. And what CSU fans want to hear is that Deion Sanders is, this highfalutin, like, you could fill in the blank, but it's just not what the Rams are all about, right? They wanted that, and Jay Norvell gave it to him. I don't begrudge the guy, but also don't sit there and act like, you weren't the antagonist in all of this, that you didn't give CU every reason to want to kick your butt. Just stand up and be like, yeah, that's what we did. Your wife called Shedeur Sanders a word that if they said that Shedeur said that about Jay Norvell's wife, it would be like an international incident. So I think actually in the CU-CSU rivalry, I actually think it's the CSU side of things that has conducted themselves more poorly than CU has. But everybody's trying to be nice because because both of them are scared to death. And it's not that different than last week. Although once the game finished, you're like, I don't know if Matt Rule is really that worried about Colorado. But I know Colorado was very worried about Nebraska and proved to have been justified in that worry. These right now are two coaches that I don't think can afford to lose on Saturday. Sure, the stakes for there's more to lose for Deion Sanders in Colorado. I think that is true. Look, a blowout win against Greeley is not going to change anybody's mind about where this CSU program is going. Okay, so the game before that was absolutely pathetic. It was a pathetic attempt to hang with one of the best teams in the country. So they got to show something this weekend. And look, they did a year ago. They gave CU all they could handle. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm saying they need to. Again. Because then after that, what else does CSU have? Right? The border war. Cool. Wyoming looks like they're not very good. So I know that means a lot to you, but it looks like it'll be played between two mediocre football teams. This is your chance. They opened a lot of eyes last year. They did. They played extremely well. And Jay Norvell I think it was this week, he was talking about it. Hey, if not for some turnovers and stuff, that could have been a very different game. CSU shouldn't be cowering in fear, but they need to be a little bit worried here. A little bit. Was Steph Curry a healthy fear? Because CU is dealing with a lot of crap. And they're not they would very much like to just beat the brakes off of the Rams and get people off of their back for what happened in Lincoln. I think there are stakes for both of these teams. And as much as it has seemed like Deion Sanders and Jay Norvell have wanted to take the high road this week, even when Deion Sanders is talking about CSU and the matchup this weekend, he can't help himself. You can tell he harbors some resentment towards that coach and that team.
I know the wonderful gentleman that coaches them said we look a lot like the same team as last season. I'm not going to say that about them. I'm going to say they're doing some wonderful things. And we just got to be stout to stop them in all phases.
You can hear the smile. You don't even have to see the video. I don't think Jay Norvell was trying to be that derogatory towards CU. I really don't, but clearly Deion Sanders took that. And look, are they both hypersensitive to things? because of what happened last year? Yeah, I think so. I think Deion took that as a slight. And I don't think Jay Norvell meant it that way. And I also don't think that Jay Norvell was wrong in his assessment. That's what we're saying through 2 games. It's the same CU team. What's different? What's better? Nothing. But I don't think Jay Norvell meant it to be a knock. I think Deion took it that way. And then Deion turned it right back around while acting like he was taking the high road. Have to be stout defense. He watched the Texas game. How much of the UNC game do you think Deion Sanders and his staff studied? Really? I bet you they watched that Texas game. Both sides know. Both sides know. They know how good each other is. They know there are no secrets here. And there is also no love lost. Should be a fun one. Saturday up in Fort Collins. One of the most expensive tickets that you can buy for week 2 of the college football season, which should not be a surprise. Should not be. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts, your predictions. CU versus CSU. Who needs it more? Because I would argue they both need it. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, Jessica Mendoza will join me, get her thoughts on the Rocky Mountain Showdown, also her reaction to some of what Sean Payton and Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton and other members of the Broncos said today up at Valley as they get ready to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sans Russell Wilson coming up on Sunday. That's next here on Extra Sports 1300. Drive Time Sports, Extra Sports 1300. Another big weekend of the football. This weekend, of course, the Broncos take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday without a, shall we call it a wrinkle? With a little bit of a wrinkle that makes it maybe not quite as appealing, although Bo Nix's progression might be still a reason to tune in and check it out. And then, of course, Saturday on the college football front, you have the Rocky Mountain Showdown. You just heard from Deion Sanders, and it still seems like there are some bad feelings there. Joining me now to discuss both of those football contests is Jessica Mendoza of KKTV 11 Sports. Jessica, how are you this fine Wednesday afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing well. Where would you like to start? Let's start with the Broncos, if you don't mind. Can we start
Sure.
there?
Of course.
Okay. So if we all agree that it did not go the way that maybe Broncos fans envisioned it would go on Sunday, what aspect of that game would you say was the biggest letdown for the Denver Broncos in Seattle?
I think it was just too much of feeling like we were seeing last year's Denver Broncos, especially toward the end of the season, where the defense was on the field for way too long, and just the inability to move the football down the field from this offense, not scoring a touchdown until their final drive in the fourth quarter. One of the things that we talked about here at KKTV on our Broncos special last week was, this team just needs to score a couple more points than they did last year, looking at all of those single possession or, just the close games that they lost last season. They just needed to put up a couple more points. And so to see those safeties, it was awesome to see the defense and special teams putting them in such great position to get on the board. And then to see them time and time again fail to get into the end zone. I think it's frustrating for Broncos country because, of course, you're working with a rookie quarterback, but you're hoping this offense was going to look better even from the jump, having, the changes and, some of the similarities from last season, the small amount of turnover, just hoping to see something better even in week one. But I think reality hit pretty quickly that, like we talked about on our show earlier in the week, Ryan, we have a rookie quarterback we're working with here, and there are going to be some growing pains.
So with that being said, is there a must in terms of a player or an aspect of the Broncos that must be better if the Broncos are going to beat Pittsburgh?
Well, you're talking about another team that didn't score a touchdown in week one. It was all field goals for them. So it'll depend on what version of the Steelers we get on Sunday. But definitely, the big thing and the big talking point after Sunday's loss was, the dropped passes, the lack of a run game. And so I think that'll be a big thing for the Broncos to see if they can improve that this week at home in a much more friendly environment, of course, somewhere where the Broncos should feel a lot more comfortable. I know Bo Nix said playing in an NFL, his own NFL stadium has been something he's looked forward to since the draft, playing in Denver. So I think it's just a matter, of course, they definitely have to score more points. I believe that they'll have to score more than one touchdown to win this game on Sunday. But I'm definitely looking at the running game this week in week two, just to see how they improve. I know that Javonte Williams said that the new turf in Seattle was a little slippery, and we definitely saw that in their first offensive drive. But they got to help their rookie quarterback, right? The defense did everything they could, but this run game has to give them something more than what we got last week.
Jessica Mendoza, my guest, KKTV 11 Sports. How much, I don't know how to quantify this, a percentage, if you were 100% geeked about Sunday because of the potential of Russell Wilson playing, how many percentage points got knocked off when Mike Tomlin said that it would probably be Justin Fields? Like, it affected it a little bit, right, Jessica?
100%. I would say like 90 out of 100 points. I'm knocking this game down. That was like the whole storyline.
You're not even going anymore on Sunday. Like, forget it. Your job be damned. You're not going.
No, I mean, this will still be a huge game for the Broncos, a chance to get their first win in front of their home crowd, to see some of the improvements and the growth. So much of what we heard going back to Bo Nix again is just how he learns quickly. He's a quick study, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice, right? And he's able to move on from play to play. I don't believe we really saw that in week 1 in Seattle from him. I felt like we saw the frustration on the sidelines. So there's a lot to see in this game. Of course, it's going to be a big one, but just the whole storyline of Russell Wilson coming back, it's definitely a bummer, looking at it as he's probably not going to play this week.
Do you think, I was wondering this out loud, playing some Sean Payton audio early in the show, because of who Sean Payton is, I know he wanted to go against Russell Wilson, but could this actually be better given what happened in Seattle and given what we saw? Like, could it be essentially, when it comes to the Broncos, for the best that Russell Wilson doesn't play? You get what I'm saying there? Like, with Russell Wilson, it's another thing they have to worry about, right? It's another thing that they have to talk about. You're going to ask them about it. Like, yes, they got asked questions about it today, but it kind of goes away now, and it's Broncos Steelers, and it's not Broncos versus Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I guess so, and it does help that last week I know a big talking point was how much extracurricular film they had to look at to prepare for a Seattle team that brought so many unknowns with brand new coordinators, a brand new coach. They were going back years past to look at, college tapes. Obviously, they kind of know what they're getting with Justin Fields and what he did last week, but I also feel like they know exactly what they're getting in Russell Wilson, right? Like they know this guy to a T. So I think that would have been a little bit of an advantage.
No, I get that.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it brings a little bit down maybe the emotion in the game, and they can just focus on, the job at hand and what they need to do out there.
Is this as close to a must win as you can get in week 2 of an NFL season? I can't believe we're already here, but I feel like we're already here with this football team.
No, I actually don't feel that way. I felt, and I said this the last time I was on your show, I felt like week 1 was huge to give us a taste of what these Broncos are going to bring this season, what they're going to look like all together in real live action. But, I think because of what we saw in week 1, I think that automatically brought Broncos fans down a little bit, brought them back to reality. As we've talked about so many times, we're working with a rookie quarterback. I don't believe it's a must win, especially now that they most likely won't be playing against Russell Wilson. Again, I think that brings the emotion of this game up 20 levels. But I think the must in this game is just seeing improvement in the run game, seeing some sort of chemistry with this offense, and Bo Nix with his receivers, getting the tight ends involved a little bit more. And then just the consistency from this defense. I don't think you can really complain too much about what you saw. Of course, there was that big shift from the first half to the second, but the consistency from this defense and what they brought, and hopefully they just won't be on the field as long as they were in week 1.
Yeah, a couple, like, you don't have to eliminate all the 3 and outs, but like maybe not 5 of them in a row could help out the defense just a little bit. Jessica Mendoza, my guest. So one day before, we have CU, CSU. You have heard the rhetoric from both sides. Both teams kind of need this in a way, right? I don't know if the UNC game completely wiped from people's minds what happened against Texas. Some of that worry about the CSU program. And then certainly with CU, given what happened against Nebraska, they cannot lose to Colorado State. But I kind of feel like to a degree, they both need it. And that's an easy thing to say about a rivalry. But I think CSU was playing with a little house money last year. And I don't know that this go round, it's quite. I think they both need this game.
No, they 100% do. And I was just talking to my dad about that this morning. And as far as from a CSU perspective, from a CSU alum who never got to see her Rams beat the Buffaloes, it's hard to gauge really where the Rams are this season because, like you mentioned, a huge demoralizing blowout loss to Texas in week 1, and then you go and you play a team like Northern Colorado. It's really hard to gauge where they are because they haven't played more of a opponent. I believe that is exactly what we're going to get this week against Colorado. We know, I believe, exactly who CU is at this point. They can have an explosive offense, but their offensive line is absolutely atrocious. They struggle with the run game. And I believe that it can be easy for the Rams to get in their heads, especially with this being the first Rocky Mountain Showdown in in Fort Collins in so many years. So I think it's going to be really important for both teams to get off to a hot start in this game. I think whoever, can be stronger in the first half is going to have a really good look at winning this game. But I think it'll be really telling of both teams. Like you're saying, it's a very important game because of the rivalry, but also just to set their season off and to prove to the world that this is who we are as a program, as a team, because they're kind of hanging in the balance right now. CSU is how legit really are they this season?
What is the best atmosphere you've been in at the new stadium there in Fort Collins? Because I've never been there. So do you? What's kind of the best atmosphere that you've experienced attending that school, covering games, whatever it might be? Because I think Saturday is going to blow that out of the water, but I'm curious where the bar is being set.
Yeah, well, I kind of was there in the middle. So when they moved out of Hughes and built the stadium, I believe I was a junior. So I was able to experience Canvas for 2 seasons, as a student reporter. And I remember the border war against Wyoming there at home. I think that was completely electric. And having that on campus, I'll never forget walking to class and I hear the crowd noise and the chant, "It sucks to be a CSU Ram," on like a Tuesday, blaring from Canvas Stadium. And it was because, the team was practicing there and they were preparing and they were kind of mentally getting pumped up. This was before the Jay Norvell era, but I just thought it was really interesting to see how they were preparing and using that as motivation. But CSU, that's just so frustrating about it is they have that, they have that personality or that, everyone knows that the student section doesn't happen to stick around for very long when it comes to some of these football games. And it's because they're not in the game. So I believe that CSU fans will stick around for this one. The ticket prices are absolutely insane. So I would hope that if you're going to buy a ticket to go to this Rocky Mountain Showdown, you're going to stick around and see how this all turns out, especially knowing how last year's game went back and forth and down to the very last second. So looking forward to that atmosphere, and our Corey Roldan will be there as well on Saturday to bring back all the highlights and all the action at 10 o'clock on KKTV.
Nice. So busy weekend for you guys, CU, CSU, and then Broncos and Steelers. How about in the more immediate future? What's on the docket for today? You said you were. Can I ask you about your super top secret project that you were doing today? Or okay.
Yes. Of course. Yeah. So we actually just started a brand new segment. It's called Classroom Champions. So every week we'll be going around the Pikes Peak region talking to student athletes, high school student athletes who are not just great in their sport, but also in the classroom and in the community. So today, to kind of kick it off, and this will air tomorrow, we went to talk to some Air Academy golfers who are looking to make a run at state this year. So that's very exciting to get to go around and talk to some student athletes that aren't just a part of our Friday night end zone football madness. But speaking of that, we've got some good rivalries this Friday. We got Lewis Palmer, Palmer Ridge. We got the Cannon game down in Pueblo. So it is an absolutely nuts week, but it's going to be a lot of fun here.
Oh, it is that time for the Cannon game. Still doesn't quite amount to the Bell game, but especially over the last few years, that rivalry has certainly added another dimension, shall we say. to that. So
You're
that
exactly
should
right.
be interesting. We'll check that out Friday night, certainly. And just every night, just be easy to watch KKTV every night, and then you don't miss any of this stuff. Jess, really appreciate the time. Good chatting with you. Enjoy your weekend and your travels wherever they might take you, and we'll catch up after that.
All right. Thanks so much, Ryan. Take care.
You too. That is Jessica Mendoza, KKTV 11 Sports, my guest here on Drive Time Sports. Yeah, that makes sense that a border war. I figured that would be the best atmosphere at Canvas Stadium. Yeah, I think both of these teams. Yeah, I obviously if CU loses a close one again, I think that it won't feel as bad, right? But there is a feeling right now around the Colorado program that they are imploding. And this could be CSU's chance. I'm feeling that. I'm not saying that's reality. I just think there's a belief amongst Rams fans that CU is collapsing. And in a quiet moment where they're being 100% honest, they need CU to collapse a little bit in order for them to win. I think that's fair without being too disparaging to CSU. Big weekend, even without Russell Wilson playing for the Steelers. Big weekend locally. And let's not forget Air Force taking on Baylor. So a lot going on this weekend on the football front. Take your thoughts on all of it. 719-247-1313. Coming up next, you'll hear from Bo Nix. He's watched the tape. What are his takeaways from his debut, and how would he like to be better against Pittsburgh on Sunday? Multi-platinum progressive rock group Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Colorado Springs with its winter tour, The Lost Christmas Eve, for not one but two spectacular shows on Sunday, November 17th at the Broadmoor World Arena. Tomorrow, a very important pre-sale is going on where you can get certain tickets for just $49.99. And once those lot of tickets are gone, they gone. So act quickly. Tomorrow, AXS.com is the best place to go to take advantage of that pre-sale when it comes to Trans-Siberian Orchestra coming to Colorado Springs. Bo Nix, want to hear from him? Of course you do. He's all the rage right now. Maybe some people have started to question him and what he's going to be. Here's what he saw when he turned on the film of the Seattle game. That is the voice of Bo Nix, the Broncos quarterback. You probably recognize his voice by now. As far as Marvin Mims goes, again, he had one target, but he was only on the field for 12 plays. I don't know that that's an awful ratio. I don't know if it's on Bo Nix to get Marvin Mims the ball more. Oh, he's on the field 12 times. I got to target him 12 times. You look at the distribution, everybody that was out there consistently, Bo Nix threw the ball to him. Right? It was interesting, certainly, that Devon Vele kind of emerged as the favorite receiver of Bo Nix. And I just think that that's a byproduct of, Seattle taking away options 1 and 2, which are Josh Reynolds and Cortland Sutton. Certainly be interesting to watch if Vele becomes more of continues, I should say, to be a target of Bo Nix. But I don't think Marvin Mims only getting one target is Bo Nix's fault. I think it's Sean Payton not getting him out there. But what I hear from Bo Nix is that he knows what he did wrong. Right? And that's been a consistent theme throughout training camp. He doesn't make the same mistake twice. He learns from his mistakes. Well, he had mistakes. And he's up there talking about those mistakes and what he can do better. So as you move forward to the Pittsburgh game, you'll first and foremost, you'll look to make sure that Bo Nix is not making those same mistakes. And if you want to generalize what the mistakes were, throwing into traffic. You look at the pass to Cortland Sutton, the pass that Archuleta went, oh no, as he released it. Even some of the passes that weren't picked off, they were in traffic. It wasn't just one Seattle player. It was multiple Seattle players around where Bo Nix was throwing it. So if I generalize what Bo Nix can do better in his second game, don't throw where there are multiple defenders. And to Sean Payton, scheme something up to where a guy is one-on-one. You saw the back shoulder throw to Josh Reynolds on the left-hand side. Like, more of that. Right? That was one-on-one. And Bo Nix made a throw that where only his guy could get it. These other throws that were intercepted or were close to being intercepted, there are like 2-3 Seahawks around. That can't happen. And then those legs better be working. Those legs better be working because as much as I like the Broncos offensive line, TJ Watt. Garrett Bowles did not practice today. It's a bruise. So Sean Payton has maintained that he'll be okay. But if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm moving TJ Watt over to Garrett Bowles' side. It's not that I would trust TJ Watt to beat Mike McGlinchey too. But hey, find the weakest spot and go right at it and see if TJ Watt can get in on Bo Nix. And I think he can based on what I saw against the Atlanta Falcons. So Bo Nix is going to have some of that escapability. He's going to have to use his legs. But if he has time to throw, and they want him to throw downfield, sideline would be best. And Bo Nix needs to not try to thread it between three defenders. Rookie mistakes. That's what Bo Nix made. Just because he learns from them faster than your average rookie does not mean he doesn't make them. He made rookie mistakes. Now we see whether he learns from them and doesn't repeat them, because that's the big thing that has been held up for Bo Nix above these other rookie quarterbacks, is that he learns quickly. He doesn't repeat the same mistakes. Well, we know what the mistakes are. We'll see if they're repeat on Sunday against Pittsburgh. Speaking of, just checked out the line. The line's continuing to move for this. I just looked on Circa Sports Colorado. It's down to Denver getting 2.5 at home. I just bit my tongue. It's going more in Denver's favor. They're getting fewer points as the days go on. So perhaps that being the Justin Fields effect, perhaps that just being an influx of big bucks on one side or another. But right now, Circa Sports Colorado has this one at Broncos plus 2.5, and it's minus 10 either way. And that's the thing I want to focus on when I'm talking about Circa Sports. They strive to be a minus 110 split, $1.10 split, however you want to put it. They have a low hold model. These other sports books that are going to get you in with these free bet offers, well, because their lines may be minus 115, minus 120, that's them recouping some of those free bets over time from you. It's going to cost you more to make these bets. That's how it works. But with Circa, they try to make it minus 110. That's what they strive to do, because it's about the experience. They want you to have a great experience betting on their app. And they encourage you, download the app, shop around. Don't just blindly delete the other apps. Go ahead. I mean, you're going to end up deleting them, but for a while, shop around, see, compare. That's how confident Circa Sports is that they got the best odds and the lowest holds that you're going to find with any sports book. Download the Circa Sports Colorado app today, just as I have. Must be 21 years or older, present in Colorado to bet. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The three stories that are driving the show coming up next on Extra Sports 1300. Drive Time Sports, glad to have you. Ryan Kaufman with you on your radio, online, or through the Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health, Mental Health, and Wellbeing for All. Did I mention it was new and improved, that app? Download it today if you have not already. Coming up in the next 20 minutes, I will be joined by Laura Busby. She is the head coach of the Air Force women's soccer team. They play that school from upstate New York. Blanking on what that West Point, I believe. Big week. It's a big week anytime two Service Academy rivals meet up, and they will on the soccer field. This soccer field just up the road from here on the campus of the United States Air Force Academy. That'll be Friday night, and I'll talk to Laura Busby about it coming up here shortly. In the meantime, 719-247-1313 is the text and phone line if you would like to interact with this program. I would like to submit to you the three stories that are driving the show that will ping pong back and forth between CU's head coach and the Broncos head coach. All right, let's start with how bummed Sean Payton is that Russell Wilson will not be playing on Sunday.
No, I mean we're focused on. Look, we're not playing tennis or golf. I mean we're playing a team game, and we're focused on the Steelers, and they're a good football team.
That was going to be said by Sean Payton today, no matter what Mike Tomlin announced yesterday. If Russell Wilson was playing, Sean Payton would have said that today all the same. But it's easier for him to make that claim given that it's Justin Fields. The Russell Wilson aspect's gone away. No more revenge game. No more distraction. No more former teammate, former quarterback. None of that stuff. And as much as I believe that Sean Payton wanted to go up against Russell Wilson, in a way, this, I think, is a good thing for the Denver Broncos because it's one less thing to worry about. And given what happened on Sunday, I think one less thing to worry about, one less thing to focus on is probably in their best interest. So I think Sean Payton maybe feels a little torn over the whole thing, but it certainly allows him to even more emphatically say this is not about the Broncos versus or me versus Russell Wilson, because it won't be. It'll be Justin Fields on the field for Pittsburgh coming up on Sunday. Now, to story number 2, the guy a little bit west and north of where Sean Payton resides. Here you go. It's Deion Sanders. Story number 2.
You got to understand, I have a huge platform. I could really get personal if I wanted to, but I choose not to do that because that's not right. Some things in life is just not right. And I don't want to go there, and I won't go there. But think about it. Just my family alone, the platform is enormous. If we really wanted to go there, we could go there. But we would never do that. We weren't raised like that. We weren't brought up like that. We were brought up to love that neighbor as much as we can.
That is Deion Sanders' warning, and I don't know how you don't take it any other way than that. His warning about these false reports that are being thrown around about his team, but let's call it for what it is, his son. The fight song thing that supposedly he told the band they can't play the fight song. They have to play Shador's song. This is probably from the same people that said that players were forced to attend Shador's rap concert. People saying that Shador was abandoning his teammates with 2 minutes to go, or he was throwing a young receiver under the bus by saying it was a rookie mistake what happened at the goal line. Any rational person can look at those things and say that they're nonsense. I knew that Shador was talking about his own rookie mistake. I know that Deion Sanders didn't tell the band they can't play the fight song. And I figured that Shador Sanders was being checked out for his injury that he sustained shortly before heading to the locker room. So I'm on Deion Sanders' side that this stuff is false and it's just people trying to take shots. But I will also say he is spending way too much time and energy worrying about this stuff. Because let me just take the alternative for a moment. Okay? So what? What's the worst thing if Shador left the field a little bit early? Disgusted. Like, is that a massive deal? Because we knew he was hurt. I'm just looking at these stories. I'm like, I don't know how personal they are. I don't know how. Maybe it's easier for me to say because they're not about me. But I look at these stories. I'm like, they're so silly. So they're too silly to be taken seriously, but they're also too silly to be like these deep, harsh personal attacks. And Deion is way too focused on them. Way too focused on them. His team is in a bit of crisis right now. And I would much rather hear Deion talk about his concrete plans. Yeah, I heard about the debate too last night. The ideas of a plan. What's that line that's going around? Anyway, I'm more preoccupied with how Deion Sanders and his team plans on running the ball, especially now that Dallin Hayden is out. I want to see how they bounce back. I don't care about, with all due respect to the CU fight song, I could not care less about when the fight song does or does not play. When Shador does or does not leave the field. I really don't. I understand why other people get hung up on it. I want to hear concrete plans to make this CU team better against CSU. And I think Deion is so fixated on these outside reports that it's getting in the way. Or he's just making a choice that's far easier to address those things than to address the fact that this Buffs team cannot or is unwilling to run the football. Back to Peyton for story number 3.
It's part of the challenges when we have multiple receiver groups. Obviously, we anticipate him getting more than just 12. And, a lot of it depends on how much of the game we're playing in nickel or on offense, the 3 receiver sets or base sets. So that can vary. But I think you'll see his pitch count week to week, depending on the team we're playing, go up.
That was Sean Payton in, I believe, October. It may have been November of last season. Oh, no, that was him this afternoon. But saying the same thing he was saying about Marvin Mims a season ago. I know he's in a tough spot. He can't just admit it. He doesn't think Marvin Mims is one of the best 4 receivers on the Denver Broncos. That's why he only got on the field for 12 snaps. I'm sorry, that's what it is. I'm tired of Sean Payton trying to make it seem like they're just not running the scheme. It's like straight out of Deion Sanders. We're taking what they give us. That's why we're not running the ball. Enough. If you thought Marvin Mims was this game breaker, was this secret weapon, you would have him on the field for more than 12 plays. You don't feel like he's that guy. Let's have that conversation instead of this, where's Marvin Mims? It's very clear where Marvin Mims is. Somewhere inside or adjacent to or around or on top of Sean Payton's doghouse. Despite being a second-round pick, this guy can't get on the field. You think as badly as that game was going, if Sean Payton believed that Marvin Mims could help them win the football game, that he'd be on the field? Of course he would. I think it's time for people to ask Marvin Mims why he's not on the field or why he's not catching passes rather than asking Sean Payton or Bo Nix. I think it's crystal clear why Marvin Mims isn't out there. Sean Payton doesn't believe he can help. Not more than Devon Vele, not more than Josh Reynolds, not more than Cortland Sutton. And yes, be still my heart. Not as much as Lil Jordan Humphrey can help out. That's the way he feels. And he felt this way all of last season. This is on Marvin Mims. He's got to figure out how to get on the field. (719) 247-1313. Take your thoughts on the three stories that are driving the show. Albert says the Buff faithful, a small lot, have been able to see through the glitter and glamour surrounding the football program and get behind Coach Prime. But expectations are higher this year. When there isn't an improvement, the rhetoric around the program grates a little bit louder. Winning some games, specifically the next two, is the elixir to put some shine on this season. And that's what I'm trying to do. I am. I'm listening to Deion Sanders yesterday, and I said, he's spending way too much time on this stuff. What Barstool or whoever it was that put out this story about the fight song. Like, why are you bothering with it? And it's not just that. It's Shador got to defend Shador that he didn't leave the field early, and Shador's got to jump on a podcast. Like, I get it. It's irritating. It's got to be irritating as all get out for Deion Sanders and his family to have those people out there that are just taking shots and just finding ways to criticize. I get it. But you got to win games, dude. This thing's got to look different, and it just looks like more of the same from last year. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to cut through all of this stuff to get to how do the Colorado Buffaloes get better from what they were against Nebraska. But the problem is, it's not just clutter on social media that I got to break through. I got to weed through 7 of the 15 minutes of a press conference of Deion Sanders to get around him defending his son and him going after fake news to actually get to some X's and O's football stuff. And then when I get there, I'm actually not really that satisfied with his explanation. But at least eventually we get to football stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. He's making it just as difficult as Barstool, as anonymous trolls on social media are. Spending way too much time worrying about it. Focus on CU, or they're going to put the fear of God back into you this weekend, just like they did this time last year. 719-247-1313. And I mean that metaphorically speaking, because I know how he feels about religious They're going to scare you. How about that? CSU is going to scare you just like they did last year. 719-24-7. 13 more Drive Time Sports after this. 719-24-7, 1313 is the number if you'd like to interact with the show. I so appreciate DJ Michaels because even when he's not producing either a Switchbacks game for me or this show, he is still being a producer when he can, asking the question. Would Deion Sanders defend another quarterback so strongly as he does Shedeur? And he asked me that question absolutely knowing the answer. It was a rhetorical question. The reason why Deion Sanders feels like he has to spend so much time defending against these reports is because it's Shedeur. And that's a fact. I'm not saying that Deion Sanders would not support another quarterback. If Ryan Staub was the starting quarterback, he would try to prop him up. He would defend him if there were some reports out there. I'm not saying that he wouldn't defend. It's not all or nothing, but it's the ferocity in which he goes after reports like this. And it's how much time he feels like he needs to dedicate to it. Who it is absolutely is a part of this. And it just continues to perpetuate the idea that there are different classes of citizen within this program. Shiloh, Shedeur, Travis are one class. Everyone else is another. Not saying it's totally fair, but it doesn't help to stop that idea. And when you hear stuff like this, you're like, And look, I can't imagine what it's like. I got to imagine it's very difficult. It's difficult to treat your sons the same as everybody else. But that is what Deion Sanders is asked to do. So I could allow a slip here and there. Right? But it's nonstop. It's nonstop to the point where you wonder if he's even trying to fight it. Right? He kind of criticizes Shedeur for throwing the ball downfield at the end of that North Dakota State game, but he prefaced it by saying he's such a good kid that he wanted to get this other receiver a catch. With the game and the balance. And when the situation absolutely does not call for that play, he does it. And it's prefaced by saying, well, he's such a good kid. Like, he has to know. Somebody has to tell him how this looks. And what's funny about this, in a way, not ha-ha funny, but ironic funny, is that what's going on right now after these first couple of games, especially after the Nebraska game, it's hurting Shedeur's draft stock. It's hurting him that he's being protected, that he's allowed to say things like he said after the Nebraska game. This is what I'm referring to.
How many times did Raul get touched? they was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, you know. But it's just like you got to understand like what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
Again, Shador's not wrong, but you can't say that. And I didn't hear word one yesterday saying he can't do that. And it's getting to the point where Deion Sanders needs to publicly criticize Shador. Maybe he said something to him like, hey, I saw what you say. You can't say that. But it's getting to the point where it needs to be public. Or else this kind of belief will continue. But it's hurting. Have you listened to the draft people? It's hurting his stock. All of this, not just his comments, not just Deion protecting him at every turn, but also the unwillingness of the Colorado Buffaloes to run the football, which puts far more pressure on Shador Sanders. And then he cracks under that pressure, which should be allowable considering the amount of pressure he's under. But it hurts him. Getting the Buffs a running game and committing to it actually helps Shador. And I think that the quote you heard from Shador is actually kind of a cry for help in a way. Because last year, he was unbelievable when it came to protecting his teammates. Last year, he had every reason to just destroy the offensive line week in and week out. That dude had no time to throw. He was getting his butt kicked by these fronts from UCLA and USC and all of these other Pac-12 teams. And he didn't say one bad thing. The fact that now he's free and loose with it, now he's saying it, that's a cry for help. Deion's got to help him. He's got to run the ball. And with no Dallin Hayden, it's going to be more difficult. No doubt about it. Got to figure it out. Because what people in the NFL are seeing right now is a guy that looks like he's cracking under the pressure. So the best way he can help Shador is not by defending him against anonymous trolls that are feeding things to Barstool Sports. It's getting him a running game, committing to the run, going to Pat Shurmur and say, I need you to establish the run game. Balance this offense. Then Shador is scary. That's when he's scary. When you can't think about what he's been able to do when everybody in the stadium knows he's going to throw the football. He still gets stuff done. Imagine if you couldn't quite know for sure what the Buffs were going to do. How dangerous Shador would be. Running the football is not anti-Shador. It's actually very pro-Shador. 719-24-7. 1313. Coming up next, a bit of hoops. A significant basketball game tonight and a significant announcement, even though you knew this was coming. It's now press release official from the Denver Nuggets. That's next here on Extra Sports 1300. Trans-Siberian Orchestra is returning to Colorado Springs with its winter tour, The Lost Christmas Eve. They will have 2 spectacular shows on November 17th at the Broadmoor World Arena. Tomorrow, there is a very special pre-sale that I want to alert you to. You can get tickets for $49.99 tomorrow. But it's not all the tickets. Once a certain allotment are gone, they're gone. So act quickly. AXS.com would be where you'd go for that. The Nuggets have made things official. Jamal Murray. This reads to me like Dwight Schrute's birthday banner. The Denver Nuggets have signed guard Jamal Murray to a multi-year contract extension, General Manager Calvin Booth announced today. It is your birthday period. Yeah, you did sign him technically to a multi-year contract extension, but it's, it's a significant contract extension. It's a max contract extension. Financials, I guess they don't get into this stuff, but for as big of a deal as this is, the press release was very matter of fact and not even a quote. Not even we're excited to keep him in the Nuggets uniform for years to come. He is a vital piece of the team. Like, if Calvin Booth announced it today, shouldn't that accompany some kind of a quote here? Did somebody? Saw the Nuggets tweeted video of Adam Silver announcing when the Nuggets took him and said he's here to stay. So I see that. Maybe I'm just not finding it. Nuggets Twitter's blowing it up, but thought given the discourse over the past week or more that I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. That's all. Thought maybe there would be. Just notice that the crawl says today is Tuesday. Today's not Tuesday. Take that down. It's Wednesday. What else? Oh, the basketball game that's going on right now. First of 2 between the Aces and the Fever. Now, I'm not watching it. I'm going to wait till I get home and watch it from the beginning. But it is 35-27 Vegas with a little over a couple minutes to go in the first half. Asia Wilson with 10 points and 9 rebounds already. And Caitlin Clark, 6 points, a board, and 3 assists. By her standards, a pretty pedestrian first half of play. Aces lead by 8. I am genuinely curious what the conversation will be after these games. And it will be, tomorrow. I know we got Bills and Dolphins tomorrow, and that'll be the main event, but are we going to go from this faux argument that Angel Reese was actually on the same level as Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year to now Caitlin Clark should beat out Asia Wilson for for MVP? Like, I'm wondering, how far does this go? Because obviously Caitlin Clark has been the Rookie of the Year for a while, and now I've started to hear this on national shows, and they're catching up. But Caitlin Clark absolutely should be in the MVP race. The only problem is Asia Wilson is without a doubt the MVP. Unless, right? Asia Wilson has been the clear-cut MVP frontrunner for as long as Caitlin Clark has been the clear-cut frontrunner for Rookie of the Year. Those two things have coincided with each other. And anyone trying to tell you that anybody other than those two were in contention for their respective awards are just trying to make something up to generate conversation. If Caitlin Clark balls out in these two games, if Indiana knocks off the two-time defending champions twice, I'm curious to see how far it will go. And I'll say this from my own perspective. One good night tonight for Caitlin Clark, let's say she goes crazy in the second half, brings Indiana back. They win the game. She gets a triple-double, has better numbers than Asia Wilson. I will not be with you tomorrow on this show and tell you that Caitlin Clark is the front runner for the MVP. It's going to take a lot more than that. But we can't even start that conversation unless these two games go Caitlin Clark's way. And she outperforms Asia Wilson, which I have some doubt that she's going to be able to. And the first half of this game is showing that. Asia Wilson already is on the cusp of a double-double. And Caitlin Clark has got a good shot at a double-double, outside shot at a triple-double. She's got some work to do in the second half if she's going to get a triple-double tonight. But yeah, if you take Asia Wilson off the board, where would you go? I think Caitlin Clark would be the next logical place. And I'm surprised that takes such as that I've heard from Dan Patrick or Colin Cowherd have actually been met with surprise. It's like, where else would you go after Asia Wilson? Yeah, you would go with Caitlin Clark. The problem is Asia Wilson's got such a big lead over Caitlin Clark that I don't know that you can legitimately make a case that if Caitlin Clark outplays her tonight, that, MVP completely flipped. But I will be very curious to see who does take that bait. Because as great of a season as Caitlin Clark is having, Asia Wilson's the MVP. Clear front runner. And I don't know that there's enough laps left in this race for Caitlin Clark to catch Asia Wilson. But yeah, you want to take Asia Wilson away? Second? Sure, Caitlin Clark. Look at what she's doing for this Indiana Fever team. But what she's doing just makes the notion that there was actually a debate for Rookie of the Year all the more preposterous. And she's graduated from that conversation. And that's been the case for a while. 39-30, under a minute to go in the first half out in Indianapolis. Aces with the lead. Don't mind me. I'm just checking here on the. Gotta probably wait for the second half to begin here for the Indiana Vegas game to see what those in-game bets look like, but I'll certainly be looking also, as now they have gone to the half 41-32 Vegas. Look what not tomorrow, but the next day's Friday's contest will be. I think I saw 6.5. Indiana getting 6.5 on Circa Sports Colorado. This is now my app that I'm doing my bets on. And the reason why is because I have consistently found, as to their credit, they told me I would, consistently found the best odds, lines, the lowest holds on Circa Sports Colorado app. Because they prioritize the experience. They want you to have the best experience possible. Just like when you come out to visit them out in Vegas. Same people behind their sportsbook out there in Vegas, the resort, the casino, behind this app as well. And they would invite you, as I would, to download it. Don't get rid of that other app so fast. Check, compare. They want you to do that because they're confident that you're going to see what I see. That consistently the tightest money line splits, the lowest holds, the best odds. Circa Sports Colorado. Download the app today. Must be 21 years or older and present in Colorado to bet. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. That is my time today. Appreciate Jessica Mendoza stopping by the program. Appreciate your interaction. Tomorrow, week 2, already here. Man, last couple of days flew by. Got the Bills and the Dolphins. That's going to be an intriguing matchup to kick off week 2. Talk about that. More on the Rocky Mountain Showdown, more on Broncos Steelers, and a bit of Caitlin versus Asia, perhaps sprinkled in throughout the program tomorrow. Hope you join me for that. For now, enjoy your evening.